Hello Cancer babies, welcome to your reading for the month of May with me, Joey Morris, the Starry-Eyed Hedge Witch, and we're going to be pulling a Plant Spirit Oracle card for you for the month to help you navigate through May and all the astrological nonsense that's coming our way. And we are using the Seed and Sickle Oracle, and we're using the Dawn Guidebook. The Dawn Guidebook is for growth, new beginnings and potential. I felt that flowed better with the readings for the month ahead. If you'd like to know more about that, I have a whole video about the Seed and Sickle already here on the YouTube channel, and why? Because I love it. It's one of my absolute favorite decks. So don't forget to check out your sun, moon and rising for a fuller picture of the month ahead. Without further ado, let's pull you a card and Cancer babies. Oh gosh, I might have to lift that up so you guys can see because that's a bit glary. You got silver birch. It's a very interesting little red thread there. The first card in the deck, which makes this a spring card. I'm almost tempted just to go in a little bit. There we go. It's still a bit glary, but you get the idea. Right, so the cards in this particular deck are in season sections. They're not necessarily corresponding to their seasons, to be honest, because strawberry was in autumn and I think of it being more as the summer, but it is what it is. The choices have been made, and silver birch is in the position of number 1, and that makes sense because it is the first Ogham. We were going to talk about that because I love the Ogham. I also love silver birch. But for now, let's see what you've got coming in May. In Irish communities, the traditional winter Yule log is cut from a birch tree. A broom of birch twigs is used to brush out the dust of the old year and brings in the new. And household fires are doused and then relit from the central Yule fire to bring a community together. You are facing a new beginning, but you do not embark upon this future alone. You will have a stronger start if you rely on friends, family or colleagues to support you through your first step. Do not fear removing what is past use. That's a theme. That's a theme, darlings. So let's have a look at birch, which is also one of the first Ogham. It's given to rule the first calendar month in the wheel of the year with trees. Now that's a modern invention. It's not ancient. We're not claiming it to be. It has powers of purification, a guardian of new beginnings, bringers of hope, channeler of emotion and protection. The druid tree symbol for the bard is the goddess tree or the lady of the woods. The birch tree, Betulia pendula, is the bringer of promise, light and new beginnings. An elegant native of British woods, all northern European countries and North America, the birch is tall, up to 60 or so meters in height, with a slender, pale trunk with the eyes ever present. You can't miss birch trees. It grows in clearings, preferring sunlight, but is not fussy about soil and very hardy, although not especially long-lived. The birch is known as the pioneer tree, meaning it can restart the colonization of woodlands after long-term natural disasters, which is fabulous, by the way. It can bring back the trees. I think that phrase alone should put you in good stead for May. Bring back the trees. Its soft green decutus leaves have serrated edges and are held on thin branches which move and bow in the breeze. Its striking white peeling bark gives it fay-like beauty in all seasons. It is a gorgeous tree. It's one of my favourite tree spirits. As the sap rises in early March, it's possible to cut the bark, tap the trees and use this sweet liquid collected, neat and colder as a water, or the basis for a birch wine or beer. In early spring, the male flowers develop into long catkins and the female flowers grow into tiny cones. That's fascinating, isn't it? The wood isn't particularly hard-wearing, but has used down the centuries for all sorts of things. Its grain is very straight, true, and good for turning. Handmade wooden toys delighted children, and when the cottage industry was at its height in Britain, birch was a great demand for its use as reels and bobbins. In Scotland, it is burned as fuel for the whisky distilleries. Handles for brooms and tools are still made from birch, as are entire bassoon brooms in the garden. Its thin twigs were used for thatching, and when correctly burnt, the resulting charcoal was used in gunpowder. Good grief. More recently, birch twigs have been found in use in packing the jumps at horse racing venues. The white bark is very unusual, thin and loose, and can peel away like paper. Even the layers can be carefully peeled apart, and it's thought that the birch came either from the Sanskrit word burga, which literally meant a tree whose bark is used for writing upon, or from bir, meaning shining white. There are plenty of places in the British Isles with the prefix birk, or birk with an I, for birch or bieth. The Gaelic name occurs quite often in Scotland. The bark can produce an oil known as birch tar, or oleum rusci, which is used for tanning, and in the specialist bookbinding industry, it contains betulin and a small amount of tannic acid, giving leather durability and protection from the damp mould. The best birch tar oil is still produced in the forests of Russia, which is a bit unfortunate right this minute. Birch bark was and is used extensively by native groups in the northern countries, including America, China, and again Russia. Famously, we think of native Indian birch bark canoes made from waterproof with pitch from the pines, light and strong. Folded and strengthened, it was sometimes used to cover shelters and wigwams. Smaller strips were woven into many types of basket and sometimes shoes. In the folklore of many countries, birch was used as a curative and preventative tonic, as well as used upon the skin in oils and ointments. These were and are considered to have many healing properties. It's difficult to pin down exactly how they were prescribed, as there's virtually no mention of birch in the works of the early herbalist. The earliest that could be found was Herbs of New England by John Josselyn, 1672, who states that bark of birch is used by the Indians for bruised wounds, cut, boiled very tender and stamped betwixt two stones into a plaister, and the deconction from there poured into a wound. From the 18th century to the advent of modern medicine, the uses are easier to discover. The astringent leaves can be crushed and made into a tea, which was a laxative and diuretic, still recommended by herbalists for help eliminating bacteria resulting from cystitis and infections of the urinary tract. Both the tea from leaves and the fresh drink made from the sap are high in vitamin C. Whew, gosh, it goes on and on and on. Let's go to magical uses. Birch is the first tree of symbols for the moon cycle in the Ogham tree calendar, known by the Celts as Beth, pronounced Beth. It is the symbol of new beginnings, regeneration, dawn, and the promise of what is yet to come. The tree carries ancient wisdom and appears forever young. The Druids were believed to have used the sap to make a spiritual cup for the celebration of the spring equinox. Legend has it that it was on a switch of birch that the first message was scratched out of Ogham symbols. They were read vertically from bottom to top. Goddesses associated with the birch are the fertility goddesses of Northern Europe, Ostara, Frigga and Freya, Venus, the Roman goddess of love, and from Greece we have Ariadne, from Ireland Brigid, and from Wales Blodeuwedd. At Beltane, the birch was the first choice as the tree to make the maypole, cut down to be decorated and danced around the old fertility rituals, later to be burnt with ash logs in the Beltane fire. I'm not going to read out all of the other sabbats that it's prevalent to. Birching can be used as a synonym for beating, as objects were beaten with birch twigs, brooms, or sticks to get rid of evil spirits. In times past, birching was applied at various times to criminals, delinquents, people with no control over their actions, and naughty school children, which, yeah, okay. Write a promise or a wish on a birch bark with a charcoal-like tip of a burnt birch twig. Keep it safe and secret, and your wish will be fulfilled. To cool any violent passion, anger, or overreaction, sit alone with your back against a birch trunk. If this isn't possible, take some birch in your hands and sit alone in the quiet. Its innocent energy will begin to shift your own. Carry a birch twig or roundel cut from a branch to protect yourself against malign influences. Burn a little birch bark or dried leaf as part of an incense for the start of new beginnings or before a journey. Okay. That's a whole load of folklore. You're welcome. The thing is I can carry on because there's still pages and pages more of it, and then there's my personal gnosis. So I will say in this card we have the moon. We also have a red thread tied about it. Now, red thread says a number of different things to me. Red thread of fate, red thread of the matriarchal line, a red thread of destiny. There is something afoot in this new beginnings which is full of potential and possibility for you, Cancer. All of that mythology, all of that folklore points to the completely magical nature of this tree standing you in good stead. Now, May is going to be an astrological mush of all sorts of introspective astrology. We've got eclipses, we've got retrogrades, but for you guys here in this energy, this silver birch energy, there is a seed, a promise, a new beginning, which is spiritually destined. There is something about clearing away the old funky energy which has been holding you back, Cancer. You are ahead of the curve when it comes to shift and transition. There is a lot of change coming, or there has been a lot of change for a lot of people, and you're right here in the beginning of May, cleansing out your space, clearing out your mental clutter, doing all the work, and you probably already invested in this process. And then Silver Birch showed up and said more of that for May, because we're going to have to look at self-care, we're going to have to look at time alone, we're going to have to be with people who make us feel genuinely good and not be draining out the energy like the birch tar to people who do not deserve that light, who do not deserve your time, energy, and attention. If people are being nasty, if people are taking advantage, then nay, as Bailey Sirenden would say. And so, unless you're going around herding calves from cows with birch twigs, I strongly suggest we fixate on the broom element, the purification element, the cleansing breath. And this is going to be a big energy for Cancers this month. Just getting rid of that which no longer serves you and investing in that which does. It's a good time for aligning with your central nourishment and cleansing out that which does not, Cancer. Focus on yourself a little bit more, even though you're not going to like that advice. Stop looking outside, start looking inside. What do you need in order to feel balanced, cleansed, and whole once again? If you guys would like to hear more, you can pop on over to Patreon right now. And on the 1st of May, we're going to have Astrological Insights with Joey, where she goes through a tarot card reading and the whole astrological shebang over there on Patreon. So you know what to expect for the month of May in depth for every single Patreon member. And if you're on the $5 tier, you get a weekly reading. That's right, a reading every single week with a tarot card and an oracle card, and we go through them and we talk blog, we talk video, we talk cards and juju and juice and how to get through some more of the difficult transits that are coming our way. So thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you over there, and many blessings.